In this series of videos, I'm going to be using the PWM Malevolent desktop synthesizer with different modular setups. And my goal in these videos is to show you different ideas and tips for using a semi-modular synth like this with a more standard Eurorack setup. There have been a lot of great videos showing the Malevolent in action, exploring its sound, but they've always explored it just as a simple synthesizer. So what if I just don't use the keyboard and we just approach it purely from a modular point of view? As a disclosure, PWM sent me this unit as a demo to make these videos, but they've no real say in the final videos, and also I'm not getting paid for this. So with that being said, let's explore this first setup, and with this I want to use the Malevolent as an acid bassline synthesizer using the TB3PO applet on Ornament and Crime. We're going to use this small modular palette case here to fill out the kind of gaps in the sound, but really what I want to show is how we can bridge the gap between a desktop synth like this and a standard setup like we have over here. Now let's do a real quick tour of the features of the Malevolent. I'm not going to go into this in detail. It's a 2 oscillator synthesizer, so you've got 2 separate oscillators which can have different wave shapes, and you can mix the wave shapes, which is quite nice. The wave shapes can also be modulated using the LFO. You've got a single LFO here. These 2 VCOs are then sent into a mixer, and they also have envelopes. The envelope 2 here is your standard amplitude of the sound envelope, and envelope 1 here can be routed to the filter. You can apply the LFO to the filter and also the envelope as well. So a fairly standard subtractive synth setup. What's nice though is it's duophonic. It has 2 separate voices, so these can be sequenced separately. Also, they can be tuned, so you could tune them differently from each other, and this could be, say, an octave down or a fifth down for a very different, rich sound. The filter itself is a multi-mode filter. You've got the standard low band and high pass outputs, and it's fairly gritty and gnarly, so we'll explore actually cutting the filter out entirely and using the Akari here as the filter. We can trigger the envelopes by sending in gates over here to these inputs, and you can either be in drone or gated mode, and that will just open up the VCA. And finally, one of the nice things is, even though we've a line out on the back, which is what I've patched into my mixer, over here I've got a Eurorack level output, so this allows me to patch the output of the Malevolent straight into my modular without any additional modules. To start with, I've wired up some basics for this patch. We're going to use the Squid sample to generate some drum sounds. So I have a basic drum kit loaded here, and we're going to be triggering this from Steppy. So Steppy is going to be running 4 different trigger patterns on 4 different tracks, which I can mute and unmute. Clock is going to come from my Mosaic 1U clock over here. Very handy little module to have, especially in a palette case this size. I'm going to mult it up here because what I want to do is send it to 2 different places. I want to send it both into the Steppy to run the drum pattern, and I'm also going to be clocking the 303 applet here with it as well. And we'll take the audio out of the Squid sample, and we're going to patch it into channel 2 here. So if we just hit play now, we'll hear the clap. I'll unmute the kick. Great. Okay, very basic pattern. How do we get the sound out of the Malevolent into our modular, and what are we going to do with it once we get it in there? We have a couple of different choices. First of all of the outputs here on the top line are the different waveform outputs from the VCOs. So we got a saw wave, triangle, pulse, and then a mixed output. So we could take these outputs here, but the problem with those outputs is they are just the raw output from the oscillator. There's no VCA applied to them, so you're just hearing a continuous tone. I don't have an envelope in this particular setup, though I could use Akari because it has a built-in VCA. So what I will do is I'm going to take the output over here from this output. Now the back jack on the Malevolent is a line level output, perfect for your mixer, but too low a level to go into a modular setup. This one here is Eurorack output, so it goes up to 10 volts peak to peak. So let's take this and patch this into the left in here on the filter, which is the Akari filter from Bastel, one of my favorite filters right now, and we're just going to patch the output here, I'm just going to pop it through a little bit of delay reverb there in FX Aid. And that's one of the other things you'll notice is Malevolent has no built-in effects. It's a very dry signal, so you're going to want something on the end here, and a little bit of reverb always helps. So we know we've got our audio path working, and of course if I can hear the change in the sound by changing the filter cutoff. How are we going to send in pitch information and trigger those envelopes from the 303 app over here? So the first thing we want to do is send in a gate. And the gate comes out of the B output here. So I'm going to take this red longer cable and I'm going to patch it into this gate here for envelope 2, because that is the gate that opens the VCA. Now I want to send pitch information to both the oscillators because I have them slightly tuned off each other, and I'm going to play that against each other to create some very interesting sounds. So what I want to do is mult this up into the active mult here on the palette case, because this is pitch information. I don't want it to be kind of the voltage levels to be lost by multing it to a passive mult. And I'm going to patch one of these into the key pitch here, and I am going to patch the other one into VCO2's key pitch. Now when I hit play, I'm just going to mute the drum so we just hear the oscillators. We should hear something coming out of the Malevolent. Let's take a listen. And there you go, we hear straight away that lovely kind of raw acid sound, and these oscillators are perfect for that. I've just turned down the delay reverb here so it's very dry. So let's just listen to the effect of taking the filter here. Now I have the filter wide open on the Malevolent because I just want to leave this filter alone. I want to really work with my Akari filter because for me this is a much better filter for this type of stuff. See, I'm changing up now the waveform shapes here by pressing these buttons. Now we'll add in that reverb. Now we bring in the drums. Now, if I wanted to do a little bit more advanced modulation, I've only got a single triangle and square wave LFO here. Very basic, enough for a little bit of movement, but I've got a far more powerful LFO going on over here, which of course is stages. So I could modulate the shape here using stages output. And as soon as you patch into here, you're going to break the normaling, which means the default connection from the LFO into this won't be made, and instead you're going to get your CV output from this cable here. Now if I just hit play, we'll hear what the result is. Bring a little bit of a different waveform shape there. Now let's bring in oscillator 2. See, it's a semitone or two higher. And by just adjusting the levels, playing them live, so you see already I'm getting into some fun territory here just playing these two oscillators. Of course I can also patch a CV input here into, I think it's CV2 input here, using my ST push. It's just a little manual switch that sends a different voltage, and I've pre-selected these to choose different settings in the 303 app to make slightly different sounds. A very basic lesson that takes you through getting started with taking sound out of your Malevolent into your modular setup, and shows you how to bridge the gap between a semi-modular synthesizer like this and a more classic Eurorack setup. And in future episodes of this series, we're going to go into more depth in some of the things we can do, especially we'll look at using this as a drone oscillator and also merging the output of the arpeggiator here with the output of an external sequencer as well. So stay tuned for those. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Leave me any questions and comments down below, and thanks very much for watching.